That night, we celebrated at the city's finest restaurant in New York City, America. I still remember the way the chandeliers glowed above us, pouring warm light over the white tablecloths and sparkling glasses. Outside, the streets were loud and busy, but inside everything felt slow and soft, like the world had paused just for me. I had signed my first big book deal that morning. The publisher's offer was $120,000 up front, with more if the book did well. My hands shook when I saw the number, and they still trembled a little as I held my napkin in my lap. My older sister, Rachel, sat across from me, dressed in a dark green dress that fit her like it was made just for her. Next to her was her husband, Mark, who kept smiling as if my success was his, too. To my left was my friend Olivia, the only one at the table who had known me back when I was broke and sharing a tiny apartment in another part of America. To my right was the empty space where my bag sat, heavy with my new contract and a printed email mentioning a possible deal in Europe worth around £30,000. For the first time in my life, my future looked bigger than my fears. "I always knew you'd make it, Claire," Rachel said. She reached out and squeezed my hand. "All those nights you stayed in your room, typing away while we watched movies downstairs. I told Mark you'd be famous one day." She smiled at me, her white teeth shining in the low light. "And now look at you, our little writer, finally earning real money." I laughed, but I felt a strange twist in my stomach. "It doesn't feel real yet," I admitted. "Maybe it will when I see the money hit my account or when the first printed copy arrives at my house in Boston, America. Right now, it just feels like a story I wrote for myself." I thought of my house, my small brownstone with the peeling paint on the stairs and the narrow hallway that always smelled like coffee and paper. It wasn't huge, but it was mine, bought with years of work and cheap meals. Real estate agents said it could sell for at least $500,000 now, maybe more. That number had always shocked me. Olivia raised her glass. "To Claire," she said. "To the girl who used to count coins for pizza and now talks about book tours in America and maybe Europe." Everyone laughed and lifted their glasses. My own glass of champagne stood in front of me, golden and bright, the bubbles rising in thin streams. I reached for it, my fingers brushing the cool stem, when the waiter appeared at my side. He was young, maybe not much older than me, with dark hair and tired eyes that still looked gentle. His name tag said Ethan. He reached for the bottle again, topping off my glass with a careful hand. As he leaned in, his voice dropped so low I almost thought I imagined it. "Don't drink that," he whispered. I froze. My fingers tightened around the glass. "What?" I whispered back, but his face had already changed. He straightened, his polite smile back in place, and spoke in a normal tone. "Is there anything else I can get you this evening?" he asked. Rachel waved a hand. "We're fine, thank you," she said, not even looking at him. Mark checked his watch, then reached for the bread basket. Olivia was scrolling through her phone, probably taking pictures of the food and the view. No one seemed to notice what had just happened. No one but me. My heart started beating faster. I stared at the champagne, at the way the light caught it. "Don't drink that." His voice echoed in my head. Maybe I heard him wrong. Maybe he was talking to someone else. Maybe it was some strange joke. But when I glanced up, Ethan was standing by the bar, watching me with a worried expression he quickly tried to hide. "Why aren't you drinking?" Rachel asked, her tone light but sharp around the edges. "Come on, Claire. This is your night. You should celebrate. You're the rich one now." She laughed, and Mark chuckled along with her. I forced a smile. "I will," I said, just taking it slow. I lifted the glass to my lips, letting the bubbles brush my skin, but I didn't let the liquid pass into my mouth. I pretended to take a sip and set it back down. My hands felt clammy. My mind was racing. Something was wrong, and I could feel it, like a low hum beneath the music and the laughter. Then Rachel leaned forward, her eyes shining. "You know," she said, "with the house in Boston, the book deal here in America, and the possible money from Europe, you're going to be worth a lot, Claire. You must feel so safe now." Her smile stayed on her face, but I saw something else in her eyes. For the first time that night, I didn't feel safe at all. That moment at the table stretched on forever. Everyone else went back to eating, but I couldn't stop staring at the champagne. My own reflection curved and bent in the glass. The music from the speakers sounded too loud all of a sudden, and the clink of cutlery felt sharp in my ears. I tried to tell myself I was just nervous about all the money and the attention. Maybe success came with paranoia, like a side effect no one warned you about. "Claire, you're zoning out," Olivia said, bumping my arm gently. "You okay?" "Yeah." I lied. "Just thinking." "About the $120,000? Mark joked. "Because honestly, I'd be thinking about it all day. And all the pounds you might get from Europe on top of that. I can't even imagine it." Rachel gave him a quick look, then turned back to me with a soft smile. "Don't mind him. He's just jealous. I'm just happy you're finally going to be comfortable. No more worrying about rent. No more stressing about fixing that old staircase in your Boston house. You can finally breathe." The way she said, "your house," made my skin prickle. I pushed my plate away and forced myself to smile again. "I'm going to the restroom," I said. "I'll be right back." I stood up a little too fast. The room shifted for a second, but I blamed it on nerves. As I walked away, I glanced toward the bar. Ethan caught my eye and gave the slightest shake of his head, like he was trying to warn me again. My heart climbed up into my throat. In the restroom, I gripped the sink and stared at my own face in the mirror. My cheeks were flushed, my eyes bright. On the outside, I looked like a woman whose life had just changed for the better. On the inside, I felt like someone standing at the edge of a cliff, not sure who had pushed her there. "Don't drink that," I whispered to my reflection, trying out the words. Was I being ridiculous to listen to a stranger? Was it possible he saw something I didn't? My mind swung between logic and instinct, between trust and fear. When I returned to the table, my champagne glass was in a different spot. It was still in front of my chair, but turned, like someone had moved it to make space. The liquid shimmered under the lights. Rachel was laughing at something Mark had said, but their bodies were angled just slightly away from each other, like they had shifted when I wasn't there. "Perfect timing," Rachel said. "We were just talking about how we should all visit your house soon. Maybe have a little party there when your first copies arrive. Celebrate properly in Boston, not just in New York City." "That would be nice," I said, sitting down slowly. My eyes flicked to my glass again. "Did anyone touch my drink?" Mark shrugged. "The waiter came by and filled it up again," he said. "You really need to relax, Claire. This is a celebration, not a trial." I laughed weakly and picked up the glass. My fingers were trembling now. I told myself I would do what I did before, pretend to drink, just brush it against my lips and set it down. I raised it, feeling everyone's eyes on me. "To Claire," Rachel said again. "To our brilliant writer." They all lifted their glasses. I tilted mine. This time, a small sip slipped past my lips before I could stop it. It tasted normal. Cold, crisp, a little sweet. Everything felt completely ordinary for about 3 seconds. Then the floor moved. At least, that's how it felt. The room tilted hard to one side, then the other. My vision blurred at the edges, like someone had smeared my sight with wet paint. My heart started racing, pounding so loudly I couldn't hear the music anymore. "Claire?" Olivia's voice sounded far away. "You don't look so good." I tried to answer, but my tongue felt heavy. The back of my throat burned. A wave of nausea crashed over me, and sweat broke out along my spine. I grabbed the edge of the table, but it felt slick under my fingers. The chandelier lights blew up into bright stars, then shrank to tiny dots. I heard someone shout my name. A chair scraped loudly. The next second, my legs gave out. I felt myself falling, my cheeks smashing against something hard, then nothing but noise and chaos. "Call an ambulance," someone yelled. "Is she breathing?" Another voice shouted. For a moment, everything became a mess of sounds and colors. A hand touched my face. Someone pressed fingers to my neck. I heard Ethan's voice, tight and scared, saying my name over and over. Then darkness closed in like a door. When I opened my eyes again, the world was white. White ceiling, white walls, the steady beep of a monitor to my right. I couldn't move at first. My arm was heavy, and something tugged at the skin near my elbow. I realized I hadn't fallen. The air smelled clean and cold, like every hospital I had ever seen in movies. I tried to speak, but no sound came out. My lips were dry. I wasn't sure if my eyes were fully open or just slits, but I could see enough to know I was in a hospital room in America. Then I heard them. Rachel's voice, low and impatient. Mark's voice, closer to my bed. "When she's gone," he whispered, his words slicing through the quiet. "Everything is ours." My heart stopped, then started again. Rachel gave a soft, excited laugh. "I know," she breathed. "The house, the book, money, the life insurance. I can't wait, baby." Footsteps approached. The nurse checking my force stopped beside my bed and looked at them. The nurse's eyes moved from my forebag to Rachel and Mark, then back to my face. For a second, I thought she would ignore what she'd just heard. Maybe she would pretend she hadn't been standing there while my own family planned my death, like it was a business deal. But then her gaze sharpened just slightly, and I saw something change in her expression. "Can you two step outside for a moment?" she asked calmly. Her voice was soft but firm. "I need to check her vitals and adjust her medication." Rachel switched to her usual sweet tone. "Oh, we'd really like to stay with her," she said. "She's my sister. She would want us here." The nurse didn't flinch. "You can come back in a few minutes," she replied. "Right now, I need the room clear." Mark made a sound of annoyance under his breath, but I heard his footsteps move toward the door. Rachel hesitated just long enough to make it obvious she was annoyed. Then the door opened, then clicked shut. The room went quiet except for the monitor's steady beep and the soft hum of air through the vent. The nurse leaned over me. "Claire," she whispered, "if you can hear me, try to move your fingers." I focused as hard as I could on my right hand. At first, it felt like trying to lift a car. Then, slowly, my index finger twitched. "Good," she murmured. "Do it again." I did. Another small twitch. Her shoulders relaxed a little. "Okay," she said. "You're more awake than they think. I'm Nurse Emily Carter. You were poisoned tonight. The doctor is running more tests to confirm what it was, but it wasn't an accident." Poisoned. The words settled over me like a heavy blanket, but it also made everything make sense. Ethan's warning, the strange taste in my mouth, the way the room had spun. I forced air through my throat. "I heard them," I rasped. My voice sounded like gravel, but it was there. "Rachel. Mark. They want my house. Money. Insurance." Nurse Emily leaned closer to catch every word. "I know," she said. "I heard enough just now to be worried. Listen to me, Claire. You're not safe with them. But you're in a hospital in America, and that gives us rules, cameras, and security. I'm going to get someone who can help." I managed a tiny nod. "Good," she whispered. "For now, when they come back, you need to act weaker than you are. Don't let them know you heard anything. Do you understand?" I blinked once, slowly. "Yes." She gave my hand a quick, reassuring squeeze, then straightened. A moment later, she walked to the door and opened it. "You can come back in," she called. Rachel hurried to my bedside, her face arranged into a perfect mask of worry. Mark followed, looking at the monitors like he was trying to understand them. "How is she?" Rachel asked. "Is she going to be okay?" "It's still too early to say," Nurse Emily replied. "She's very weak. Her memory may be affected for a while. She might not remember much from tonight." My heart skipped at that. So that was the story. Rachel's shoulders visibly loosened. "Poor thing," she said, brushing my hair back from my forehead like a loving sister. "She's been under so much stress. First the book deal, then the money, then the travel talks. She was always too sensitive." "Hey, Claire," Mark said, leaning over me. His face was a blur, but I could feel his breath. "It's us. We've been here the whole time. You probably don't remember much, do you?" I let my eyes drift, unfocused. I parted my lips and let out a weak, broken sound. Dubbitch where? You're in the hospital, Rachel said quickly. In New York. You fainted at the restaurant, remember? It was so scary, but we got you help right away. She squeezed my hand like she was the hero of the story. Hospital. New York. Fainting. All technically true, but twisted just enough. I let my gaze slide away. I don't remember, I whispered. Nurse Emily glanced at me, and I saw the hint of approval in her eyes. That's normal, she said. The doctor will be here soon to speak with you all. She turned to Rachel and Mark. In the meantime, please don't overload her with questions. She needs rest. They stayed for another few minutes, speaking softly about nothing important, pretending to be caring family. I answered in short, weak phrases, acting confused when they mentioned the restaurant, the champagne, or anything about money. At one point, Rachel casually asked, "Do you remember signing anything about your life insurance recently? I remember you saying something." I blinked slowly and shook my head just a little. "I don't know," I murmured. She looked relieved. Eventually they left, saying they would come back the next day. As soon as the door closed, Nurse Emily moved closer again. "You did well," she said. "Now I'm going to call someone who can help you with more than 4 lines and pain medicine." I tried to speak, but she was already moving toward the phone on the wall. A few hours later, after more tests, more blood work, and a visit from a serious doctor who confirmed there were toxic substances in my system, a man in a dark jacket stepped into my room. He had calm eyes and a small notebook in his hand. "Miss Parker," he said, showing me a badge. "I'm Detective Daniel Harris. I've been told someone tried to kill you tonight. I need you to tell me everything you remember." For the first time since I woke up, I felt something other than fear. I felt the first small spark of fight.